Hey everyone, I wanted to give a brief overview on the prototype we've been developing for the Preliminary Intent Navigator tool, which is an open source tool for platform ecosystem design. Um, so I'm going to spend just a few minutes going through the tool. You see an example here that's been actually filled out, and I'll take you through briefly each of these quadrants, which represent four areas that impact the ability to identify an ecosystem and platform opportunity, get it off the ground, and also the ability to sustain it over time. So, who is this tool for? It's essentially for any group of people that is interested in identifying a platform ecosystem opportunity. It doesn't matter what level of experience you have in the space, how much you understand about platform thinking or ecosystem thinking. It can be utilized by startups, innovation teams in large organizations, individuals, any sector of the economy, private, public, social sector. When should you utilize this tool? It's meant to be a preliminary conversation and hence preliminary intent at the early stages of development of a concept, and it's meant to go beyond just the identification of the idea and the concept to talk about a number of different topics that impact the ability to be successful with ecosystems and platforms. And you can see here in the tool there are exercises that are based on zooming in around a set of exercises or concepts, and then also kind of zooming out, thinking more broadly about the ecosystem. So hopefully once you've completed an exercise around this tool, which should take, we're thinking about a half a day, you should have a good set of conversations, be able to identify what people's motivations are, what they're looking to get out of an ecosystem from a number of different perspectives. So with that, let me just go into the tool, and I'm going to spend just a brief amount of time on each of these quadrants. So the first one is kind of the foundational quadrant, which is a zooming in exercise around platformizing, which is basically about understanding your value proposition and what value does a platform ecosystem create. And so this is largely about, you can see here in this kind of middle column, about identifying value chains that can be made more efficient or from which friction can be removed by applying platform and ecosystem thinking. So there's also this concept within the design space of thinking about the broader ecosystem that multiple value chains, when connected together, might create. In this case, this is a learning type example around, say, a growth ecosystem, and there are a number of value chains here. What you're looking to do is identify platform plays, which are concepts or ideas. And so we brainstorm in this quadrant around what those ideas are, and then we also like to categorize them in one of two ways, whether you're trying to mobilize an ecosystem around an existing or an emergent product or service, which is kind of a left to right thinking about how you might mobilize an ecosystem, or you're trying to amplify an existing ecosystem or community that already exists where there's latent enthusiasm and energy to interact, but they're struggling, and the use of a platform or ecosystem model would help them get off the ground. So that's largely what the zooming in around platformization is about. Once you have a set of concepts and value chains and have them connected to a larger type ecosystem, the next quadrant is a zooming out exercise around orienting toward community. So if you think of ecosystems essentially as groups of people with common purpose, they're largely communities, and there are multiple types of communities that could participate in a platform ecosystem. And so we like to think about three major types of communities that you need to think about when you're thinking about ecosystems that you want to engage with. So the first one is around peers. So this is largely looking at the use cases, kind of micro markets or interest-based communities that have some need that your platform or ecosystem could meet. So this is really looking potentially for groups of individuals with a common interest. That could be the place where you seed interest in your platform, where you test, where you experiment and iterate the idea. So you want to identify as many of those as possible as potential channels into creation of the ecosystem. Similarly, we also like to look at localities because there may be a local orientation or a local community that you can seed your idea with. So there could be a local play from a number of different perspectives. The peer community group and the locality community group are very similar. One is more based on a virtual set of interests that could be global in nature. One is more geographical in terms of localities. The other major one we like to look at and have conversations around is talent. So there are a number of different ways that you can engage talent around your ecosystem concept. It can be more traditional in terms of your organization or your business, perhaps in a partner network or consortium. Could be done through cooperatives. And there are a number of emerging decentralized ways to utilize talent that you can also consider for mobilizing around your ecosystem. So that's the second one, really thinking about how you orient toward communities and engage people in what you're trying to do. The next one is kind of a business model quadrant, and we're referring to this one as a zooming in exercise around ecosystem flow. So what we're really talking about here is there are a number of design choices about how you set up your business model that impact, number one, your ability to attract participants in the ecosystem, and number two, to keep participants participating in your ecosystem over a long period of time. So those design choices essentially impact what we refer to as flow, which is basically how information, resources, and value moves around within the ecosystem. So you're looking at things like access, who can participate in the ecosystem, and what conditions, under which conditions they can participate or join the ecosystem. From an innovation perspective, are you going to be doing most of the innovation yourself and making that available to the ecosystem, or are you going to invite others to innovate on top of your platforms, like an app marketplace? What are you doing around data? How are you dealing with privacy? Whether you're going to be monetizing data and acting as the custodian, or are you going to allow the users to maintain sovereignty over their own data, or even monetize their own data? So there are a number of questions around data, governance, how you make decisions, who's involved in making those decisions, whether it's open and participatory, or there's a designated group of people that are involved. And then how do you look at value? Is it more around products and services, around what we refer to as exchangeable value, or more non-exchangeable, around things that people place value on that aren't based on product and service trade, things like, which we're going to get to in the next quadrant, around purpose, things like dealing with climate change or pandemics or social justice, these kinds of things that you may embed into that people place value on. And so it's how you're looking at that and how that impacts your ability to attract people to the ecosystem and keep them there. So that's this zooming exercise around your business model, around ecosystem flow. The last quadrant is a zooming out exercise again, and this is around purpose. So this is really about why would people participate more from an intrinsic perspective, whereas the platformization quadrant might have been more extrinsic around a specific value chain or a product or service that solves a problem for somebody. This one deals more with connecting your concept, your idea, your ecosystem to things that are more intrinsically motivating, that have widespread appeal. So in this one, we'd be looking at a massive transformative purpose, and there are lots of examples of this that are available that can be shared to give people examples of what that looks like. And then also what we have here are a list of some kind of global risks and societal level things in a number of different categories that you can associate with in your ecosystem, attach more intrinsic meaning to it. So that is a high-level, brief look at this tool. Again, it's meant for anybody interested in developing concepts and thinking about design considerations for platforms and ecosystems. So if you're interested in in participating in the further development of this tool. It is a prototype at this point. If you have a use case or something you'd be interested in prototyping, or whether you're interested in contributing to the development of the tool, it is an open source tool, and so we're working with a number of different people on further developing and iterating the tool. Or if you're just interested in not participating, but being updated on the progress of the tool, and you'd like to know when we've got further updates, I'll leave a comment in the description of this video with a link to where you can join a list to be updated or when we're providing further communication on the tool. So look forward to hearing from everyone on what they think of the tool and whether you're interested in participating further. Thanks.